Welcome everyone to the Eureka Springs City Council meeting for Monday, August the 28th. I'm filling in for Mayor Barry. He is indisposed. We'll just leave it at that. I'm going to call this to order and roll call, please.
Steve Holofield.
Here.
Terry McClung.
I'm here.
David Avanzino.
Here.
Harry Meyer.
Yeah.
Autumn Sleen is absent with notice. Melissa Green.
Here.
Okay, let's stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we need a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, that has been made by Ms. Green and seconded by Steve Holyfield. Any changes? Let's see. We do have number 2 under new business that we're going to strike for now. It'll come back up if when it's needed. That was the only thing, wasn't it? Yeah, okay. So I'm going to pull that off, and so then we need approval of the agenda as amended.
I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, that was,
Amended.
you want me to repeat that for you? Is that what
I
I
got
need
it.
to do?
Holofield made
Yeah.
the motion. Ms. Green seconded.
Yes, okay.
We just need to vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. That was unanimous. Approval of the minutes for August 14th of 2023.
I move we approve the August 14th, 2023 minutes. Minutes.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Myers made the motion and Mr. Avanzino seconded.
We need a vote.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving right along. We need CAPC commissioners, a planning commissioner. We do have the opportunity, if someone would make the motion for Brian Byler this evening, who has applied. You received his application last meeting.
I make a motion we appoint Brian Byler to the Hospital Commission position 4.
I'll second that.
Okay, the motion was made by Mr. Holyfield, second by Ms. Green, for Mr. Byler. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. That goes that way. Cemetery has one vacant as well. Hospital, is there another one vacant besides that position 4? Is that the one he just filled?
That's the one he just filled.
Okay, good. Very good. Okay, we're down to public comments, 3 minutes each. Please be kind enough to state your name and address.
Will you turn your mic on? Sorry.
Your mic may not be turned on.
Is that, yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Steph Gordon Glassford, 23 Hale Street, and this is regarding the tree ordinance. First off, I want to thank the Planning Commission for all the time and effort and work that they have put into this. This has taken a long time. I realize this has been extensive, so thank you for that. And it all looks pretty good. There's just I have one worry. It's under 7.56.05 under the application. It's been struck out. All trees for which removal is being applied for are to be marked by tying neon green flagging tape, or other colors not used by the surveyors. Lack of transparency is kind of why we've ended up, some of the public wanting this. So I just think it'd be really nice if the public also knew like what was coming down, what's being, permitted. It'd be great. We've had trees go down that no one knew about, and it made a huge difference in the neighborhood, and we would just, think that would be something maybe to modify. All right, thank you.
Where's that section at, Stephanie?
What's that?
Where were you talking about?
Oh, what section? It's under 7.56.05. And it's number 5, and it's been struck out.
Okay.
And, but, yeah, we feel better that all live trees are going to be going in front of Boza now. So that's great. So, thank you.
Ferguson Stewart, 7 Harvey Road. I'm here basically to, hopefully, we get that thing first read done today on that on the Planning Commission tree ordinance, because we've been working on it for over 5 years. So on my thumbs up, I'm ready to go with it. Second thing is, as the chaplain of the American Legion, I need to inform the City Council we will be doing a 9/11 service on the flag at Plainer Hill on 9/11. So the fire department will be there, some other people. Love to have you guys attend. We notified the mayor, so he should be sending out a note to all you guys about the times. And anyway, that's on 9/11. Also, November 11th, Veterans Day. The American Legion is in Carroll County has been reduced to 1 post. So post number 9, your post, is the only viable post left. So we do all the military honors in Carroll County. So this year, because we're doing the support of all veterans in Carroll County, we moved the Veteran Day Parade to Berryville. It will be in Berryville, 2 p.m. on November 11th. And we hope we get a lot of entries. We've already got an approval for Duke Black Hawk helicopters to fly over the parade, and then we'll be doing a static display at the airport after the parade, and we'll have hamburgers and things like that at the airport for all the veterans. That's all I got. Thank you.
Hi, y'all. You know, I've heard a couple of comments that kind of unsettled me, that you guys think that when we get up and make public comments that we're screaming at you. And this is the time that we have to air our concerns. And there seems to be a plethora of them at this point. And I could go into the sign that was put up on Spring Street that should be on Main Street, and I could talk about the parks being in disarray, which we all know they are. But the big reason I'm here, and I'm sure you know, is the ADA non-compliance. And I tried to think about it. It's got to be one of 3 things. It's either that you think that we're above the law, or it's either extreme neglect or extreme defiance. And it's a federal law. So we're going to have to pay some attention. Thank you, Steve. In May, I had a preoccupied summer, but in May, the last time I was here, I asked for the 2 parking spaces on Mountain Street to be moved to an accommodating level, which is an 11% grade. The excuses I've gotten have been because it's church parking. Well, if you do that for that church, you have to do it for every church in town. Okay? And it's still not legal. It's still on like a 40% grade. So, I've had 2 city employees, paid by the city, say to me, the only way that the city is going to listen to you is if you file a complaint with the Department of Justice. And the other thing that's been said to me, or if it happens to them or one of their own, which is really sad, really sad. And I'm not screaming, I'm being firm. I hope that we can alter this situation. It's way overdue. Thank you.
That's all I got.
Okay, that looks like that's the end of the list. We appreciate everyone getting up and speaking. We now move on to unfinished business, number 1. Need a motion to discuss?
Motion to discuss the tree
Second.
ordinance.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Myers made the motion, and Mr. Holyfield seconded. I believe that's who it was. So, all right, let her rip.
Well, we've gone over this a lot of times. Does anybody think there's anything here we need to discuss again?
Mr. Holyfield?
Ms. Meyer, you were going to get information about those fines.
So I did look into that. I sent something out to my clerks group. I got a little tied up, so I didn't send that till this morning, so I haven't got much replies. But what I did do over the weekend is I went to the Tree City USA website and found out the tree cities in Arkansas, and I looked at their individual codes for penalties, and I couldn't find any dollar amount similar to like the situation we're looking at here. So it may be, they may consider it like a real property maintenance violation or something in other cities. So I'm just waiting to hear back for the clerks. So I'll have that information for you on the second reading.
Okay. Also, during our meeting, we talked about fines plus replacement. So on that 7.56.15 penalty, if you can find out the fines, but also I like a sentence put in there. I thought we discussed adding also, if someone just cuts down a tree, they pay their fine, but also they have to also replace it with, maybe not like just the same size, but some other tree or something. Did we talk about that?
We did talk about that, but we never made anything definitive in that respect.
Oh, yeah.
We did not. Now, there's two things. One is that on page 3 of the ordinance, let me get to it. It's in the dead tree paragraph there. She has to, she didn't get that worded quite right. And so that is going to be a correction that it would, I'll let her explain it. So that way one of you can, whenever we get the ordinance ready to read, that we can get this amended here.
Yeah, because we discussed at the workshop that dead trees could be approved by the building inspector, live trees would need to go to BOZA. I put a clause on page 4, I put the clause in there for that the city building inspector may issue a tree removal permit for removal of a dead tree without the approval of BOZA, but I forgot to remove that from the dead tree definition. So if you guys would like that, we just need a motion to strike that clause at the end of dead tree with final approval to be determined by the BOZA Board of Zoning.
Okay, that's one. And then the other, on the fines, those dollar amounts, she's working on that. So I believe we can, if we get this amendment, that we can go ahead and read first reading tonight, get approval, and then she should have, by the next meeting, should have that additional information that we can add in.
And I can research that replacement as well, because I believe that Fayetteville has a replacement clause if you, so I can research and get the wording for
I
you
would like
next
that to be
weekend.
in there.
Yeah,
We bring something because we have 2 additional readings after tonight.
Okay.
You know, if everything goes
Right.
as we figure.
And after each reading, we can,
Yeah.
yeah, we can amend it.
Thank you,
So
Ida.
that's what it's all about.
I'd like to make a motion that we assign this ordinance a number and read it in its first reading into passage with the amended definition of dead tree on page 3.
just a moment, I think the city attorney wants to make.
This is a minor point, but on the bottom of page 2, city tree is defined as those trees between the sidewalks and city streets or trees on city-owned property. the strip of land between the street and the sidewalks belongs to private people. The city does not maintain that strip of land. The trees there belong to the private individuals. They do not belong to the city, and it's not the city's responsibility to maintain or take down those trees which are on private property. There are trees where there are no sidewalks that are literally growing right next to the street. And we don't have a definition of how far they have to be from the street or otherwise. What I would like to do is strike those trees between sidewalks and city streets. And so trees on city-owned property is a city tree, and that's it. I think that's logical, it makes sense. If we could do that, I think it'd be an improvement.
Then I'll rescind my motion and start over. Let's assign this ordinance a number and read it into passage on its first reading with the amended of city trees in the definition to read trees on city-owned property, and dead trees will be determined by such as the building inspector.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mrs. Green.
I'll second.
It's already seconded by Mr. Evanzino.
Okay.
Thank you, though, Mr. Meyer.
And here.
And what it is on city tree in the definition will read as city tree is defined as trees on city-owned property. That is removing what the attorney had asked for. And then in 3, it'll be that has been determined to be such by the city building inspector, and the rest of that final sentence, that's where it's going to end, right there, as building inspector, and the rest of it gets scratched. Is everybody on the same page with that?
Yep.
Okay, that is what the motion is. Any discussion? All righty, in that case, all in favor of the amendments?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Now, we have a motion to put this on its first reading. I guess that's what we just did. We went ahead and approved it with the 2 amendments.
Yep.
Okay, so let her rip.
Big gulp.
Everyone get cozy. Oh, thank you. I think I got it. I'm going to get this where I can see it. Assigning ordinance number 2345. An ordinance of the City of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, repealing and replacing Title 7, Chapter 56, Section 1 through Title 7, Chapter 56, Section 10. The City Council of the City of Eureka Springs, Arkansas does ordain as follows. Chapter 7.56, Tree Preservation. 7.5601, Findings, Purpose, and Goals. The City of Eureka Springs, being the oldest tree city USA in Arkansas, is forested by trees indigenous to the Ozark Mountain area, as well as non-native species introduced to the area. In general, trees provide benefits for both residents and visitors to the city. 1, trees contribute beneficially to the climate of the city by reducing heat buildup and providing shade, moisture, and wind control. Trees contribute to the protection of other natural resources by providing erosion control for the soil and oxygen for the air. Trees aid in the treatment of stormwater by increasing the water retention capacity of soils. 3, trees provide screens and buffers to separate land use. 4, oak, maple, and dogwood trees are especially valuable to the city and the urban forest as a whole. In addition to providing the benefits identified above, these trees provide habitat for indigenous wildlife and contribute to the economy of the city by increasing and sustaining property values. They are also naturally pest resistant, require less water, little to no fertilizer, and can provide a bridge to nearby open space areas, creating an element of nature in the midst of an urban setting. Trees can be burdens when located in a way that damages property, interferes with utilities, and impacts the reasonable economic use of property. In addition, non-native invasive trees, species, diseased trees, hazardous trees, and trees with poor structural integrity can adversely affect public health, safety, and welfare. The trees located within the city limits collectively constitute an urban forest, and removals or additions of even a single tree can negatively or positively affect the urban forest and the city as a whole. However, the loss and removal of a tree from one location in the city's urban forest can often be at least partially mitigated by planting a replacement tree in the same or a different location. For the reasons stated in this section, the City of Eureka Springs enacts these regulations for the conservation of trees while recognizing private rights to develop and use property in a manner not prejudicial to the public interest. According, this chapter is intended to promote the following specific goals. 1, encourage the preservation and maintenance of healthy trees while allowing for reasonable and conforming use of private property. Encourage the replacement of trees removed by necessity with native, especially drought-tolerant trees and locally adapted tree species. Create an efficient and cost-effective tree removal permit process for unsafe or unhealthy trees, trees in poor conditions, trees that cause a significant fire hazard, trees that adversely impact utilities or cause significant property damage, and trees that are required to be removed as part of vegetation fire management plan approved by the Eureka Springs Fire Department. 4, create public awareness of the tree ordinance, the role of trees in our environment, and best practices for tree management. 7.56.02 definitions. Where used in this chapter, the following terms are herein defined as arborist, means an American Society of Consulting Arborists, registered consulting arborist, or an arborist certified by the National Society of Arboriculture, or an arborist with the following credentials: A, graduation from a college or university with a bachelor's degree in urban forestry, landscape architecture, horticulture, botany, or a closely related field, and B, 3 years in urban forestry, or C, any equivalent combination or experience or education, additional education substituting for year basis for the required experience. Arborist report means a report prepared at the request of the Board of Zoning Adjustment containing specific information on the location, condition, potential impacts of development, recommended actions, and mitigation measures regarding one or more trees on an individual lot or project site. Such fee to be paid for by the applicant. Bond means a bond from a surety company authorized to do business in Arkansas, a cash deposit to be held in trust by the city, an irrevocable letter of credit from a financial institution. City tree is defined as trees on city-owned property. City Tree Reserve Fund means a fund maintained by the city into which in lieu fees and the Tree City USA fee will be deposited for the purpose of planting and maintaining trees on city-owned property. DBH means the diameter of the tree at breast height and is measured across the widest face of the tree trunk, 4.5 feet above natural grade. On a slope, the 4.5 foot height is measured from the center of the trunk, halfway between the uphill and downhill side. In the case of multiple stem trees, the measurement is the sum of the diameters of the 3 largest stems, measured at 4.5 feet above natural grade. Dead tree means a tree that is dead or that has been damaged beyond repair or is in an advanced state of decline, where an insufficient amount of live tissue, green leaves, limbs, or branches exist to sustain life and has determined to be such by the city building inspector. Destroy means any action undertaken which causes or may cause death or significant injury to a tree or its roots, or which places the tree in an irreversible state of decline. This includes, but is not limited to, excessive pruning as herein defined, topping, which generally means reduction of tree size using internodal cuts without regard to tree health or structural integrity, trenching, excavating, grading, paving, or other action which causes a significantly harmful insertion within the root system or canopy drip line of a tree, poisoning or leaching of construction-related or other damaging materials into the canopy drip line, overwatering or withholding of water or nutrition. Drip line, canopy drip line, means an imaginary vertical line extending from the outermost portion of the tree canopy to the ground. Excessive pruning means removal of the leaf stem area predominantly on one side, topping or excessive tree canopy removal or crown raising to such an extent as to cause the tree to die. Exceptions are when clearance from overhead utilities or public improvements is required or to abate a hazardous condition or public nuisance. Heritage tree means a tree which is unique because of its advanced age for its species or because it represents an uncommon or endangered species. Or B, a tree which is designated a champion tree by the state of Arkansas under the Arkansas Champion Tree Program. Large diameter tree means all broadleaf trees equal to or greater than 24 inches DBH and all conifers equal to or greater than 28 inches DBH. Person means any natural person, property owner, partnership, firm, corporation, governmental agency, or other legal entity. Protected tree means a heritage tree, small species tree, or a large diameter tree. Pruning means selectively cutting or trimming to enhance the health and structure of a tree, improve balance, promote healthy growth, and prevent damage. Removal means physically removing a tree or causing the removal of a tree, causing the death of a tree through direct or indirect action, or severely damaging a tree. Replacement tree means any tree, regardless of size, which has been planted as required mitigation for the previous removal of another tree at the same site or elsewhere in the city. Root pruning means trimming a tree's roots in a manner that maintains the tree's critical root zone 1 foot per 1 inch of the tree diameter. Small diameter tree means any living woody perennial plant with a base diameter of 4 inches or less as measured 18 inches above the ground level. Small species tree means those trees identified as small species as set forth in Appendix A. Soil compaction refers to a problematic increase in soil density, which can damage tree roots by depriving them of oxygen, can be caused by using trenchers and heavy equipment too close to a tree's critical root zone, and which can be prevented by protecting the tree's critical root zone 1 foot per inch of tree diameter. Tree Removal Assistance Fund means a fund maintained by the city to help low-income or low-asset property owners with dead or hazardous tree removal. Recipients of this fund will be determined by the Board of Zoning Adjustment with their tree removal permit application. 7.56.03 Arborist. There is created the position of arborist whose professional service shall be utilized as required. The mayor and the city council of the city shall approve all applicants who are qualified to serve as arborist. The mayor, upon request of the Board of Zoning Adjustment, shall designate an arborist from those appointed applicants to render their services on a case-by-case basis. Such selection should be made on a non-discriminatory rotating basis, but timely availability and cost shall be determining factors. 756.04 Permit. A, it shall be unlawful for any person to destroy or remove any tree within the corporate limits of the city, except those trees set forth in Parks Chapter 120801 through 120802, without first obtaining a tree removal permit approved by both the city building inspector and the Board of Zoning Adjustment as provided in this article. However, while a tree removal permit is required for removal of a dead tree, the city building inspector may issue a tree removal permit for removal of a dead tree without the approval of the Board of Zoning Adjustment. An application accompanied by a fee of $40 shall be submitted to the city building inspector, who shall visit and inspect the site prior to taking any action. $10 of the $40 application fee will be deposited into the Tree Removal Assistance Fund. C, an application fee is not required for a small diameter tree, nor for a city tree. A city tree does not require a tree removal permit, and that such tree shall be under the control of the city building inspector, code enforcement officer, and the Department of Public Works. Since such trees can potentially damage the sidewalks, as the roots of city trees often need to be trimmed or removed, as the city sidewalks need to be repaired. 75605, application for tree removal permit. An application for a tree removal permit shall contain at least the following information along with such other information which may be requested by the Board of Zoning Adjustment: the street address and owner's address of the property on which the trees are located, the legal description of the property, the zoning district, the reason for the tree removal, a diagram at least 8.5 inches by 11 inches in size locating all living trees on the site, which diagram shall identify such trees by size and species, attached as Exhibit A to the application. A diagram at least 8.5 by 11 inches in size locating all existing structures, locating the trees to remain on site by size and species, attached as Exhibit B to the application, and identifying any proposed structures, roads, streets, and parking. A diagram at least 8.5 by 11 inches locating all trees for which removal is being applied for, which trees must be identified as to size and species and marked on the site by tying neon green or red flagging around the trunk at least 3 feet from the ground, attached as Exhibit C to the application. A statement by the applicant as to how the tree or trees are to be disposed of. Trees to be removed should not be left on the site as a potential fire hazard. This does not prevent the applicant from utilizing such trees for firewood. After reviewing the application and inspecting the site, the city building inspector, code enforcement officer shall apply the criteria set forth in section 7.56.06 and recommend to the Board of Zoning Adjustment that the tree removal permit be approved, disapproved, or modified. The reason for such action shall be set forth in the report to the Board of Zoning Adjustment. The Board of Zoning Adjustment will review the recommendation of the city building inspector, code enforcement officer, and may schedule a site visit and or consult with an arborist. The Board of Zoning Adjustment will then, based upon the above, approve, disapprove, or modify the tree removal permit. 7.56.06, criteria for review. Criteria supporting tree retention. A, the tree is located outside of the developable area of the property. B, the effect of the requested tree removal on the remaining number, species, size, and location of existing trees on the site and in the area, including trees mutually dependent on each other for survival or structural integrity. C, the tree is a protected tree. D, review of the city building records as to the number of trees removed from site during the past 3 years, section 7.56.12. Criteria insufficient to support tree removal. A, the tree is 1, shading the yard house, 2, dropping leaves, needles, or other normal material, 3, obstructing views, 4, preventing alternative landscaping of the yard, 5, attracting birds or other wildlife, 6, leaning or swaying in the wind with no documentation provided to reflect that an on-site assessment from a qualified professional has verified specific hazards. Criteria supporting tree removal. A, the tree is 1, in poor condition or crowding other trees, 2, at the relative end of its lifespan for its particular species, 3, diseased or infected beyond reasonable attempts at remediation, 4, showing poor structural integrity, 5, in danger of falling, or 6, a safety hazard. B, the particular tree species is undesirable due to the characteristics such as invasiveness, tendency toward limb failure, and fire hazard. See Appendix A. C, the tree is damaging or interfering with existing structures, site improvements, and utility services. Removal of the tree is needed in order to construct improvements or otherwise allow conforming use of the property. E, proximity of the tree to existing or proposed structures, i.e. tree is within 10 feet of structure. F, mitigation or removal of tree or trees is supported by a tree replacement plan. The conditions set forth in criteria supporting tree removal A through F may be waived for any tree that is eminently hazardous to any existing building, sidewalk, driveway, or public street. If, in the opinion of the building inspector, code enforcement officer, the chairman of Board of Zoning Adjustment, if an emergency exists, provided further that the city building inspector, code enforcement officer, and the chairman of the Board of Zoning Adjustment must file within 10 days following waiver under this section a written statement with the Board of Zoning Adjustment setting forth the reasons for the waiver. This notice shall be served in person or by certified return receipt, requested restricted delivery mail to the last known address of the owner. The endorsement upon the notice shall be sufficient evidence of his action in the premises. If a tree is on private property and meets the criteria supporting tree removal as set forth in A 3456, and in the opinion of the city building inspector, code enforcement officer is in need of immediate removal, and after having obtained the approval of Board of Zoning Adjustment, such official shall issue a written notice for the property owner to remove such tree or trees. This notice may be served in person or by certified return receipt, requested restricted delivery mail to the last known address of the owner. The endorsement upon the notice by the building official serving the notice shall be sufficient evidence of his action in the premises. If any person shall neglect or refuse to remove such tree or trees within 60 days after notice as aforesaid, he shall be subject to a fine of $50 for each offense, and each day he shall neglect or refuse to remove such a tree or trees shall constitute a separate offense. The owner also shall be liable for the cost for which the city may incur by reason thereof to be recovered by the city in an action of law. In the event that the city expends city funds for mitigation and or rehabilitation of a violation, the city may file a lien against the real property for the cost as authorized by Arkansas Code. The amount of the lien may be determined at a public hearing before the City Council held after 30 days written notice by mail, return receipt requested to the owner of the property if the name and whereabouts of the owner is known, and to the lien holders of record. If the name of the owner or the whereabouts of the owner cannot be determined, then the amount will be determined only after a newspaper publication as required by law of notice of the public hearing once a week for 4 consecutive weeks. The determination of City Council is subject to appeal to the Circuit Court within the time specified by law. The amount so determined at the hearing plus 10% penalty for collection in accordance with Arkansas Code annotated section 14-54-904A2A may be certified by the City Council by resolution to the tax collector of the county in which the property is located to be placed on the tax books as delinquent taxes and collected accordingly. The amount less than 3% thereof, when so collected, shall be paid to the city by the county tax collector. In the alternative, the city may file a lien for the amount determined as set out above, which can be collected by enforcement against the real property by a filing in the Carroll County Circuit Court as authorized in Arkansas Code. Either method of collection can be used at the discretion of the city. 7.56.07, reapplication. Once an application for a tree cut permit has been denied by the Board of Zoning Adjustment, no application of any type may be reconsidered for a period of 12 months after the original decision, except that the Board of Zoning Adjustment, by a 3/4 vote of the complete membership, may agree to schedule an earlier hearing in those cases where the applicant in writing clearly demonstrates that A, circumstances affecting the property that is the subject of the application have substantially changed, or B, new information is available that could not, with reasonable diligence, have been presented at the previous hearing. 7.56.08, removal and protection of trees. The Board of Zoning Adjustment shall have the authority to prohibit the removal of or destruction of any tree or to impose conditions or restrictions with any regard to any application submitted to it in order to ensure compliance with this article and to A, preserve environmental and historic characteristics of the land, B, protect adjacent property, or C, ensure compliance with City Code 115605, Section C5, tree protection, which states no cuts or fills are allowed within the drip line of trees with a diameter of greater than 4 inches unless approved by the Planning Commission. If conditions or space allow replacement of trees and/or other landscaping, then the Board of Zoning Adjustment may require replacement of some or all trees destroyed or removed. In addition to any conditions or restrictions which the Board of Zoning Adjustment may impose, the following conditions shall be attached to every permit, whether issued by the City Building Inspector, Code Enforcement Officer, or the Board of Zoning Adjustment. 1, if trees are to be removed in anticipation of construction for which a building permit is required, all documents required under the city zoning ordinance for such construction, as well as any other drawings, plans, and/or blueprints as may be required by the city building inspector, code enforcement officer, shall be submitted to and approved by the city building inspector, code enforcement officer before any tree is removed pursuant to a tree removal permit, except as may be otherwise provided by the Board of Zoning Adjustment. And 2, when trees are to be replanted, this must take place within 1 year following the issuance of the building permit. 7.56.09 Site Visit. The City Building Inspector, Code Enforcement Officer shall inspect the site prior to the building permit being issued and shall file a report as to whether the tree removal permit has been complied with. In the event that the applicant has removed trees in violation of the tree removal permit, then no building permit may be issued until the Board of Zoning Adjustment has approved an acceptable mitigation plan for replacement trees. Each tree removal permit application shall contain language whereby the owner or applicant shall grant permission to A, the City Building Inspector, Code Enforcement Officer, B, the Board of Zoning Adjustment, and C, the city-approved arborist to enter the property during the time the application is pending. 7.56.10 Tree replacement requirements. Number and size. The number and size of replacement trees is based on the number and size of trees approved for removal. As indicated in the table below, if you are replacing a tree that was required as a part of an approved tree removal permit, the replacement species must be consistent with the tree removal permit. The replacement tree or trees may be of any species that continues the diversity of trees found in the community as shown on the attached Appendix A. Tree trunk size of removed trees, 8 to 12 inches in diameter. You need 1 replacement tree with a minimum size of 2 inches in diameter and 8 feet to 10 feet in height. Trunk size of removed trees, 12 to 24 inches, need 2 replacement trees with a minimum size of 2 inches in diameter and 10 feet to 12 feet in height. Large diameter trees and heritage trees need a replacement ratio of 3 trees, 2 inches in diameter and 12 feet to 14 feet in height. In lieu fee, if the site layout cannot reasonably accommodate the number of trees required in compliance with the above table, at the discretion of the Board of Zoning Adjustment, payment of an in lieu fee equal to fair market value of a tree identified on Appendix A, delivered and installed, may be accepted, currently $500 per tree. Such fee shall be deposited in the City Trees Reserve Fund. Other requirements. The following requirements and standards apply to all tree removal permit applications. 1, cost of replacement trees. Replacement trees shall be obtained and planted at the expense of the applicant. 2, replanting period, referred to section 7.56.07-2. Inspection. The city building inspector, enforcement officer, the arborist, and the Board of Zoning Adjustment shall be permitted to enter the property while the application for tree removal is pending, and to verify the installation of the replacement trees and to verify the condition of the replacement trees. 4, maintenance of replacement trees. Any person who is required to plant replacement trees as a condition of a tree removal permit shall maintain such trees in a healthy condition to ensure their long-term survival. 5, performance and maintenance bond. A faithful performance bond, maintenance bond, or other security deposit shall be required to be paid to the city prior to the issuance of the tree removal permit. The bond shall be in an amount of money and for a period of time determined by the Board of Zoning Adjustment and/or the arborist to ensure acquisition and proper planting and maintenance of the replacement trees. 7.56.11, voiding a permit. In the event of the recipient of a permit fails to comply with any provisions of the tree removal permit, the permit will, without any further action by the city building inspector, code enforcement officer, be deemed void and further will be considered as never having been issued. 7.56.12, record of applications. The city building inspector, code enforcement officer shall maintain a record of all applications for the tree removal permit sorted by legal description and by street address. Every application that is submitted shall be cross-referenced against this record. Any prior tree removal or destruction activity shall be noted on the current application. 7.56.13, tree service license. It shall be unlawful for any person or contractor to engage in the business or occupation of pruning, treating, or removing trees within the city without first applying for and securing occupational license. However, no license shall be required of any public service or utility company for doing such work on an emergency basis. An insurance policy with no less than $1 million general liability coverage must be presented before licensure is issued. A list of locally licensed tree service businesses and arborists shall be available at City Hall. 7.56.14, notice requirements. In its discretion, the Board of Zoning Adjustment may require that an applicant for a permit comply with the notice requirements of the city's zoning ordinance. 7.56.15, penalty. Any person removing trees in violation of this ordinance shall be fined the sum of $50 for each small species tree that is removed, $150 for each large species tree that is removed, $200 for each heritage tree that is removed. And the appendix is good. You don't need to read the appendix.
Okay. Mr. Holyfield, I think a couple of your questions were answered there.
Yeah.
And I think you need to look at it again before the next meeting, because if we want to make some adjustments to either of those, as far as the fines on page 10, or what was it, 11, yeah, page 11, and then as far as the instructions for replacement of trees.
And
Okay.
also one more comment about that. The tree removal assistance fund, I want to make sure that that jives up with the other, what's that, city tree reserve fund.
Sure.
If that's the same thing, we need to state it in there?
Yeah,
No.
just go ahead.
Sorry, those were actually, I talked to the finance director because, the city's going to have to maintain those funds. He said it would be easier if those were two separate funds rather that way, because their funds are going to be used for different things. So I did add that in the definitions, but I forgot to underline it.
Okay, cool.
Should we vote to approve this on its first reading?
Yeah, I was just going to ask for a motion.
I move to
on first
approve the ordinance 2345 on its first reading.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Myers made a motion and Ms. Green seconded to pass this ordinance on its first reading as read. Any other discussion? All in favor? I believe it's a voice vote's all we need.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All righty. So it goes, and we'll do this again on this ordinance next meeting. So that takes us now to number 2, the water leak remediation plans. Can someone make a motion to discuss?
Motion to discuss.
I'll second.
Okay. Eeny, meeny, miny, moe.
Yeah.
We'll do Avanzino, Meyer.
Well, have you got all the leaks fixed?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So in this last couple weeks, we fixed 2 leaks. One of them was over there at Smith Drug, and the other one was in front of the library on Spring Street. Both of them were 2-inch service lines again. Seems like it's a common issue around here, service lines. I did meet with McKinley Creed this morning, and they've actually started their leak detection here in the city. They actually did something that was really great for my department. We have an old laptop from 2009 that has some GIS stuff on it that McClellan did way back in the day, but I've been unable to extract the data out of it. So they took it back to their hotel room and got everything extracted for me and turned it over to me. So I was pretty excited about that. So it's not going to be 100%, but it's a really good start to get our water line map built. But they expect to be here for a few weeks. They're probably going to be done by the time Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue shows up. They're going to work around their schedule because we also have Jeep Jam coming up in a couple weeks and a lot of other big weekend events. So they're going to try to concentrate on the downtown or / highway areas, like on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then the rest of the week work in neighborhoods or out in the rural areas. Yes, sir.
Is there anything that they have to identify that they're out there in the field, or so we can stay out of their way, or do we need to?
No, they're going to be doing their thing. They've got white and purple trucks that say McKinley Creed. They've got reflective vests on. I don't think people are really going to hinder their operations at all.
Okay. I didn't know if they had to take any special undertaking to.
Yeah, and we have a Public Works
accommodate.
Facebook page. I posted information on there today about them coming in and working, and when they find the leaks, they're going to let me know. Actually, I have a GIS link to actually see what they're doing, kind of live, if you will, and then we'll be able to dispatch the maintenance crew out to fix those leaks as they find them. Hopefully, keep up with them. But I think where they're going to start is I try to push them down to Black Bass at the pump station down there and work their way up through the woods, because I have a feeling that line that goes up through there is probably one of the older ones, the original system to the city from the way back when, that goes to that water tower. So they're going to start there and then work their way around. They're also going to collect some GIS information too for us while they're out there and be able to provide that where we can put that in our mapping system. So it's going to be pretty good. I did speak with them last week. I met with them last week regarding the sewer smoke testing. They're going to send us a quote. They're still looking at everything right now, and they're going to send us a quote, and they're going to try to piggyback off of this water leak study if they can. There's no doubt that I'll have to bring it to council for approval. When I was meeting with them, they were saying the tune of $100,000 to do a smoke test on the sewer system to be able to do that. But when they do that, everything would be provided to us for our GIS map, so we wouldn't have to do any surveying or anything to build our map up. So as part of that service, that would be included, which would be huge for us. But I'll stand for any questions.
That's great.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank
That's
you,
good
guys.
information.
Appreciate it.
Okay, that brings us up new business. Number 1, resolution for a public hearing for vacation.
Motion to discuss.
Second.
All right, Ms. Reed made the motion to discuss the vacation. Mr. Myers seconded. What we have here, let's see, what's that one? Oh, there we go. This is over off of Wall Street. We have a plat map. City clerk has a a legal description for what's being vacated, but I don't think they have, she does not have a, the plat map is a survey that does not show the delineation between the property split, and it appears that it's going to be a oddball. We didn't get a copy of the plat. Oh, yeah, no, that's the old one. We didn't get a copy of the survey, did we?
Yep.
Oh, okay, we did?
Somewhere in there.
It's somewhere in here. Anyway,
I got a question about that.
Yep.
Is, if they split, are they going to split the street in half to one side and half to the other?
So it's a house encroachment. It goes over more than half. So they were going to do kind of a triangle situation there. I asked for because they had a surveyor come and survey it, I asked for the legal description with the marked survey. They gave me the legal description, but they haven't given me a marked survey yet. They said they would get that to me within the next week. So, yeah.
Is the other property owner going along with this?
Yeah, there's a letter in there, a written consent letter in there
Okay.
from the abutting property owner.
Thank you.
what I am suggesting is that if y'all go along with it, that we can approve this and have the public hearing, which would be the second meeting in September. Because of the publication timeframe, it puts it off till then, which should be plenty of time to produce that additional plat showing the separation in the properties. If it's not, we can still have the hearing then and just delay our approval until that's provided, so we're sure of what's going on there, and both sides are happy. Sounded like a logical way of doing this?
Yes.
Okay, in that case, then I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we assign the resolution a number and read it into passage.
Have a second?
Second.
Okay, Ms. Green made the motion, and Mr. Holyfield made the second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it is approved.
Signing resolution number 848.
848.
Yep. A resolution to set a public hearing date for consideration of vacating a portion of Hayden Street between Block 147 and Block 136 of the Riley and Armstrong survey. Whereas the property owner of Lots 1 and 2 and Block 147 of the Riley and Armstrong survey has submitted a petition to the City of Eureka Springs to vacate an unused section of Hayden Street between Block 147 and 136 of the Riley and Armstrong survey running east and west. And whereas the signed petition was submitted to the council in regular session on August 28, 2023, along with a copy of the plat showing the streets, alleys, and adjoining lots. And whereas the Arkansas Code ACA 14-301-302C provides that the city council shall, by resolution, fix a day for the hearing of the petition filed to vacate a street or alley. And whereas the law further directs the city clerk to give notice of the meeting by publication once per week for 2 consecutive weeks in some newspaper published in Carroll County, Arkansas, and having general circulation in the city. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, that the petition to vacate the above described street is set for hearing on September 25th, 2023 at 6 p.m. in the auditorium of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, and the city clerk shall give notice of this meeting by publication as set forth by Arkansas Code ACA 14-301-302C.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, that concludes the agenda for tonight. Is there any items that the council would like to add to our agenda for next meeting, for agenda settings? No?
Got
Okay.
nothing.
All right, well then we'll Move on to council comments, and we'll start with you, Mr. Myers.
Was a great weekend. The Volkswagens were great. Even more my Volkswagen shirt today. The weather's nice. I hope it stays this way till fall.
Thank you, sir.
Nothing tonight.
Mr. Holyfield.
I have a couple of things. I went to the Cemetery Commission meeting last week and found it really interesting, but also a little disturbing. This commission has 5 positions instead of 7, and there's 3 people right now. Then we just elected or appointed a person last meeting. These folks were working really, really hard with a lot of responsibility. They're just overwhelmed. And I want to shout out to Glenna Booth, LB Wilson, and David Danvers for really hanging in there and doing a great job. They did explain that Confederate monument, which is actually supposed to be a Civil War monument with Confederate on 2 sides and Union on 2 sides, with just the Confederate stuff has been put on so far. So they explained that to me, and I thought that was really interesting to hear that. And Glenna says she has a letter from the guy who's putting it up stating that's what that monument's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be just a Confederate monument. So I want to bring that up as clarification. And also, I like to advocate for this commission to meet here and be recorded, and so everybody can see it as well. I think it's an important commission. I'm not sure why they just voice record and meet in a shack in the woods, but I brought that up to them, and some of the members seemed open to doing that. I'd like to discuss that with them in the future. And really, again, I'd like to shout out to these folks doing a great job. If anybody watched the CFPC meeting last week or came to it, wow. We had a lot of people show up, a lot of opinions were expressed, and I would like to really emphasize with people, if they want to give feedback, and this has had nothing to do with what Ms. Stevens said, but remember, the 3-minute comment is one-sided. We can't ask questions. We can't dialogue with people. Please, and Mr. Myers said in our last meeting, contact us, send us emails, ask to meet with us, call us. We want information. We want feedback. We want input. And, even in our comments now, I mean, we're just making a statement. It's not a dialogue. But I found some of the stuff really informative in what people had to say, and then some people I didn't. So, But I do want input. I do encourage people to contact us individually or send emails and give us the input on what they think should be happening. And we appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Avanzino.
I'll pretty much second what Steve has said. My emails and phone are always, my email address is posted, my phone number is posted on all the city websites. You're free to call or email concerns. Sometimes email is better because it lays out a plan on what I can or cannot do. I'll also second what Steve said about the CAPC meeting, and on my end at least, it was extremely frustrating that an item was placed on the agenda, motion was made, a second was given, and I wasn't allowed to speak. So there are some things that need to change over there. I know this council and mayor can't do anything about it because they're autonomous, so I'm just reporting back to you as what I need to do.
Okay, thank you. Any others mentions? Okay, mayor's comments. Dancing in the Park is salsa night with the Melon Light Dancers. That's this next Friday, September 1st, 7 to 9. Drumming in the Park and on the Saturday the 2nd, 6 to 8. Music for Kids by Charles Gaby is on the 4th from 4 to 8. Antique Auto Parade, which didn't know was going to happen, but now it's locked in. That will be the 9th of September at 11 a.m. That's the Upper Loop Library, Library Spring, Main, and Plainer Hill. The second Saturday of September, that's also the 9th, will be the Gallery Stroll from 8 p.m. downtown. And then Music in the Park by Jason Kyle Wiles Band is also the 9th in the Basin Park from 6 to 8. And if you missed the Cape Brothers this last Saturday night, why, you missed it, because they were awesome. And I don't know how many more times they're going to get to come play for us, but they're always great, always great. And the parade went off real well, I believe, Saturday, and just like Harry said, and a lot of cars, a lot of good stuff. So great things happen here. That's it. We got a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are through.